I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Monday, November the 16th, brought to you in part by Vitalix. Try their feedlot starter tub for the first 21 days, new arrivals. Get their saliva going, get them to eating and get them to drinking. Get the blue tub with Vitalix. Got a big week coming up here, be a lot of big sales going on. I'm going to be busy this week. I had so much fun last month going out to the Ranchers for Trump rally at Nevada Livestock Marketing, Jack Payne's sale barn there in Fallon, Nevada. Going to be going out there this week and auctioneering at his special. He's got a big special on Thursday, expecting somewhere around 4,000 head of those high desert dried out cattle there. He's going to have many loads of yearlings there, true yearling cattle. I beat hard cattle and a lot of those little hard desert calves. If you guys are interested, don't forget on Thursday to tune in to dvauction.com. You can view and bid that sale right there. This coming weekend on Saturday, going to be in Rapid City, South Dakota, speaking at the South Dakota Farm Bureau convention there. So if you guys are anywhere around there, I look forward to visiting with you. But I feel like we need to talk a little bit about this Farm Systems Reform Act. And if you guys haven't heard about it, it's something to pay attention to, especially now that Joe Biden is claiming to be the new president, or president-elect. But not all of us have given up on Trump on these false votes that we've seen. If you've seen any of those videos from Sidney Powell over this last weekend, she says that she's got plenty of evidence that show that Trump got millions more votes than what they ended up showing. But you know, until they come across with some evidence and show us exactly how it's going to happen and what the pathway is, I mean, most of us kind of figure that Joe Biden's going to get inaugurated. I'm like you guys, I'm still holding out hope. But some of these liberal legislations that we have sticking out there, they're likely going to get crammed down our throat, guys. So I want to talk to you about this Farm Systems Reform Act. And this is Cory Booker's bill. We've talked about this bill before, but it's the one that's basically just declaring war on concentrated animal feeding operations. You know, that's kind of in the Green New Deal, but this is one of the legislative bills that's been introduced. It's been co-sponsored by some great American liberals there. Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas, you guys know her, and then Crazy Bernie Sanders also have co-sponsored this bill. And it calls to eliminate large operations in the next 20 years. So, and have them all gone by 2040. So they're going to be eliminating any dairy operations over 700 head of dairy cows, beef feedlots over 1,000 head, hog operations over 2,500 head, wiener pig operations over 10,000 head, 500 horse farms, 10,000 sheep, or 55,000 turkeys. Doesn't say anything about chickens. I guess maybe they got enough liberal chicken farmers out there that they don't have to worry about those. But I'm telling you what, guys, it's a real deal. We got to look at it. Now, I'm not sure how we're going to feed all these masses of people all around this globe when we don't have big concentrated animal feeding operations. I don't know how they expect to do that. And then every day, the amount of rural land that we have available to actually have animal production gets smaller. So I'm not sure how we're going to bust all these big feedlots and everything up and just have little deals scattered all over. How's that going to happen? Whenever you have people that own large tracts of land. Well, they're not real big on you guys owning too big a tracts of land. We were talking about this before the election. But, and there's actually people out there that say that they speak for agriculture. They're snakes in the grass. But there's people out there that claim that they are speaking for agriculture that support this bill, if you can believe that. But how we're going to feed the masses of people on this globe without these large operations, without GMOs in our farming, I always say every year they make it where you can grow more bushels to the acre. They never make it where you can have less acres to the cow. And they don't believe that these big corporate feeding operations and packers and their partnership aren't trying to figure out how you can confine beef cows so that they don't have to depend on you ranchers out there. They can just completely vertically integrate this whole deal. And they've been spending a lot of money on research and development doing it. But as you guys know, it just doesn't work to shut cows up year round and try to produce calves. The calves aren't as healthy, and you get too much money tied up in the cows. The way you streamline that is to turn cattle out and let them graze. And you guys know, if you've done any backgrounded, you can really cheapen cattle up turning them out to graze. But it takes quite a bit of country. And we've been having a lot of droughts in some major areas here, and it's not getting any easier. And I also say all the time that there's no place in these United States that you can buy land and pay for it by running cattle. You can't do it. Now, if you're just looking for an investment, yeah, that you can make that work if you just want the land for an investment. If you're just wanting a hobby farm, yes. If you're doing it with a lot of equity that you've inherited or something like that, yes. But to go out, and especially for a young fella or a lady, go out and try to buy a farm and just pay for it by running beef cows, you cannot do it. It will not work. But I tell you what, we got to get going is we've got to get things tied up amongst ourselves. We've got to unite as cattle people. And so we need to get our trade associations together. We need to quit letting NCBA push us around and being totally swayed by the packers. We've got to get together as a beef industry, cattle industry, and everybody. And I realize we've been talking about those are two different industries, your beef industry and your cattle industry. If they weren't, then your cattle people would have got to share in all those monster profits that your beef people made during the COVID and during the fire last year. And the panic buying that happened in the COVID and the price gouging and everything. But they didn't share in those profits, so that lets you know that they've got their business and your cattle people got their business. But we got to get together if we're going to stave off some of these liberal deals, as we're starting to get more and more liberal leadership in here. But we've got to get a minimum negotiated cash trade passed so we can save our smaller producers. Well, that they're saying, some of the people are saying that this Farm Systems Reform Act is to help your smaller producers. We've got to keep the small producers we have now and the small feeders in business and bolster some strength there and show that that's what we're trying to do, is to keep those people in business with this minimum negotiated cash trade requirement. We've got to unite as a trade association, as an industry, to fight these things off. But it's going to be out there, it's going to be floating around. I don't want to have to harp on it all the time, but it's sure something that you guys need to look at, called the Farm Systems Reform Act, and the legislation that I think we need to push through, that's got a lot of support, is called the Cattle Market Transparency Act. So that's the one Deb Fisher put through. But so we're going to go ahead and talk about your markets for last week. Look at the board, December live cattle futures. Monday was up. You remember they come out and they said, hey, we're going to have a vaccine. Pfizer, said that it's going to be 90% effective, which, that sounds like one of Trump's claims there, that they would have shot full of holes, but and they waited till after the election to say that. Pfizer did, but never going to be another sick day and everything's going to be fine. That was just last Monday, guys. And your board was up big, your stock market was up big, everything was up big, but it really gave a boost to your cattle markets. But Monday, live cattle for December up 317. That was more than they previously could have gone up without extended limits. Tuesday was up a nickel, Wednesday up 52 cents. Thursday started backing off, 42 cents down on Thursday and down 205 on Friday, with December live cattle contracts ending the week at 109.92. That's up $1.27. Go out to February. That was for the week, up $1.27. February ended the week at 112.22, up just 7 cents for the week. Your April, the all-important April, is sitting out there at 116.20 now. Look at feeder cattle. November feeder cattle, they were up big on that Monday news, up 3.92. Tuesday was down 77, Wednesday down a quarter, Thursday down 52 cents, and Friday down 2.60. So a lot of downs following that big up on Monday. But November feeder cattle ended the week 137.47, down 23 cents for the week after being up nearly $4 on Monday. All your out fronts were down, all of them, down about $2. But January ended the week at 137.87, down $1.95. But they introduced a pork cutout this last week on your futures. A lot of people think that's a great deal. We've got people in the cattle business and the beef business trying to tell us that that's what we need, is we need a beef cutout traded on the board. I'm telling you guys, whenever you're letting something that happens behind closed doors in those packing plants, when you're letting something like that dictate, and that's what would end up happening, we'd just sell our cattle right off of that deal. And there's nothing that your packers can manipulate more than their cutout values. They hide most of the demand in out front sales, and they keep the demand kind of limited on your spot market, on your immediate or current delivery stuff. I don't think it's a good idea, but you know, you're going to hear more and more talk about that now that we have pork cutout futures. Your fat cattle trade last week, you remember we talked, we came in with that big up on Monday, and man, we thought, well, we're going to gain so many dollars, you know, and your board was sitting up there with spot live cattle at around 112. We thought, man, we ought to at least get that. We need to ask for 13 or 14 or maybe 115. And then the things started fading off a little bit as we went further in the week. Still had a big week, but it wasn't as good as it probably could have been. But through Thursday, they'd sold 60,900 head in your 5-area feeding region. Live sales of steers and heifers range from 107 to 111, mostly 110. But your weighted average on live steers was 109.46. That was up about $3, and that's really what your market on live base is up $3, and mostly all at 110. Dress sales, steers and heifers from 170 to 173, largely 172. Your weighted average through Thursday was 170, 188 on dressed steers. That was up about $5.50 compared to the previous week. That's a big gain. If you just take your price spread there, it was up $5 to $10 on dressed steers and heifers. But big gains on the week. I just think we need to be more aggressive whenever we get opportunities like that. But your trade on Friday, which was a pretty significant cleanup trade on Friday. So by the time we add all these up, we're not going to get to 100,000, but it'll be a decent week. But Iowa on Friday sold 7,500 head, 108 to 110 live, mostly 110, and 170 to 172 dressed. Nebraska, about that many too, 7,600 head from 108 to 110, 172 dressed. Make note, Iowa had huge movement. Iowa had a larger volume of feedlot sales than Nebraska did. That never happens. I mean, they moved a ton of cattle in Iowa, 36,600 head for the week, and there'll likely be a few more of those by the time we get everything rounded up for your Monday reports that come out for last week. But that is huge movement for Iowa. Kansas did not sell very many. Only 16,300, which is just barely over the 75% of a robust market that NCBA is calling for. But they had about 13,000 on Friday, all at 110. Texas, okay, this is one more week that they're not probably going to hit the 75% of a robust market, but about 7,000 head there, and all at 110 on Friday. So Pretty good trade there, but like I said, it could have been better. Box beef cutout values gained bunches last week. Your weighted average on last week's, all of their sales, the weighted average, choice cuts, $222.99. That was up almost $12 for the week on the weighted average compared to a week ago's weighted average. Select's weighted average on all of last week's sales, $207.42, up $10.90, but only 666 loads of volume for last week. And I don't know that your packers are too worried about that. They got to get their price. They were able to get their price levels back up there. They need product for all the forward sales that they had done between now and the end of the year. And so they need as much of that as they can get. So as long as they can get their price levels back up there, which, you know, it's not really a negotiated market. You know, they set those prices, and then their customers either pay them or they don't. So that's all about volume. But they're able to get those price levels back up there on lighter volume. Your slaughter for last week, not bad, 653,000. That's 6,000 more than the previous week, 10,000 off of the same week a year ago. Had a decent Saturday, 63,000 head there on Saturday, so can't complain too much. I want to talk about some feeder cattle. You know, periodically I'll give you guys some quotes on some put together cattle you can have shipped to your farm or ranch there. I know some of you guys are getting some wheat. We've had that ice storm, and it came with some pretty decent moisture in parts of Oklahoma and western Kansas, so they are having some wheat in that area. Texas Panhandle, you can see the wheat out there. Not enough moisture to really get it to growing, but it did get enough to sprout. So if you guys are looking for some wheat eaters, Ellison Carter Cattle Company in Santo, Texas, which is just right outside of Weatherford there. Ellison's an old buddy of mine, you guys know that. He'll give me just the invoices on what he shipped. Now this is what he shipped on Sunday, so this is likely very close to what you could order and have him pick up for you this week. Or he was saying there are going to be big runs this week leading up right before Thanksgiving. A lot of those little sales there in Central Texas will be shut down on Thanksgiving week, but then be going back again the week after. But you can sure get a hold of them at EllisonCarterCattle.com, and you can look and find some contact numbers there. But talk about steers and bulls. These will be delivered prices to wheat country. But had some fancy little 346-pound steer and bulls on a load, and the cost was $158.50 delivered. Some number one steers and bulls, good enough to go anywhere, be solid colored cattle, mostly black hided. The average weight on the load was 436 pounds for those steers at 145 delivered. And then some just kind of plainer kind of commodity type cattle. One load averaged 375 at 149. Another load averaged 509 pounds at $113. Back on some better type cattle, good enough to go anywhere. Load average 540 pounds per head at $138. And then a pretty slick deal of all steers averaging 559 pounds at $145 delivered. On the heifer side, the number one good cattle there, 408 pounds at $128. 467 pound heifers, $125.50 on the good kind. Fancy load weighed 522 pounds on the average at $127. Now some plainer, cheaper type heifers, sure enough worth the money. Load averaging 556 pounds at $111.50. And then a load maybe a tick better, averaging 585 pounds at $119. But get a hold of Ellison there, and he can get his order buyers putting you some together if that's what you need. Or even if you guys up in the Midwest got some cheap feed put together and you want to stick those in a lot and do some background growing on them there, some of those look like they kind of work. Let's talk about your feeder cattle market. Your real-time index on DV auction ended the week at 137.81. That's based on an 800-pound steer, with all those cattle up through the middle part of the country averaging from 7 to 899 pounds in all the sales that we report, which is a ton of them. That is $2.24 higher than it ended the previous week. Your CME cash feeder cattle index is still lagging behind. The latest available there is about 50 cents behind, but it's coming on, so it should be catching up here this week. But I want to mention about Joplin Regional Stockyards. They are really getting to a big busy time of the year here for the remainder of November and then up through the first part of January, or end of November and up through the first part of December. But a lot of big sales coming up there and a lot of specials. Here today on Monday, expecting 8,000 head, including 3,500 true yearling cattle. So you don't see those very often anymore. You can see those on dvauction.com. You can get an order into Joplin, but they've got big runs coming up. This Thursday, the 18th, they've got one of their primetime video sales. They've got 6,000 head of yearlings lined up. Some of those will be immediate delivery, and some of them here through the latter part of the year. Then next Monday, on the 23rd, that's their yearling special. Their Monday regular sale, having a yearling special in conjunction. Next Monday, expecting 10,000 head with over 100 loads of yearlings. They've got several big consigners there that save up their hard yearling cattle that they've been mostly turned out on stockpiled fescue wheat pasture or fescue grass pastures and places like that. And there'll be a lot of those cattle coming up. You go on out from there, and later in the month and early in December, they've got some of their wean vac specials. And just a busy time for Joplin Regional Stockyards. But don't forget, you can watch all their sales on dvauction.com. Let's talk about your market. Brick and mortar sales last week. Your cash feeders $2 to $5 higher, spots $10 higher, and a lot of spots of $10 higher, both on calves and on what few yearling cattle that we saw, and even some big backgrounded yearling type cattle that were weighing over 1,000 pounds. We saw those as much as $10 higher. But just a really good market around. This thing has gotten real snappy. It's been more of the calves are weaned. We've gotten more consistently cooler. Almost every major area has seen a hard frost now. It's getting a little bit easier to straighten these cattle up. We've had a little bit of moisture. We've got a little bit of wheat around. Our farmers are pretty much completely done up in the Midwest with corn and bean harvest up there. They're coming into the market. It's about the only place they've made any money the last few years. So pretty good demand around. Good fat cattle market, and our calf and what few yearlings we have out there selling really well right now. How about a Saturday sale? Fort Scott, Kansas there had about 2,000 head or so for the Saturday sale. Good market there. And if you look at these loads of yearling steers that I pulled out of Saturday sale from Fort Scott, Kansas there, from DV Auction on Cattle Market Central, all these load lots of yearling steers were sold on Saturday. Pretty impressive market there for eastern Kansas. Including in there, you see that one load I thought was a stick out deal. 58 head, 873 pound steers at $141. How about in the northern plains? My buddy Justin Tupper up there at St. Onge Livestock in St. Onge, South Dakota. 5,600 head there. And you talk about a stick out deal there. Look at this deal of fancy steer calves. 159 head of them, weighed 519 pounds, $172.50. That's your feeder flash for Monday.